Hey guys, LevelCap here. Today is Monday, which means it's time for an episode of Loadout, the series where you guys, the viewers, get to pick a gun and customization for me to use. The way you do this is you leave a comment down below letting me know what kind of weapon and accessories you'd like me to run with, and I will pick one of the top rated comments for the next episode. Today's top comment comes from Luke Roger, who says, "The Gangster Loadout. Primary is the Remington 870 using buckshot and choke of your choice. Secondary is the Glock 17, which there is no Glock 17 in this game, so we'll just go with the Glock 18 naked. Grenade is incendiary. Gadget 1 will be the RPG. Gadget 2 will be a torch. Upgrade is offensive, so we can run faster to get away from the cops. Knife will be the shank. Just because you're in prison doesn't mean you can't make a name for yourself." And then he says, "Welcome to the hood. You done finished the initiation and it's time to show these rival gangs who's boss. Kick in the doors and kill all them fools. Remember to always burn it down to get rid of the evidence. Always be cruising in the classiest lowrider there is. Don't forget to use your torch to keep it on point. Good luck, my homie. Peace." And I'll be honest, this loadout sounds a little bit more like a hardline loadout, except I know it's Battlefield 4 because you can't run with a RPG in your kit in hardline. You have to pick it up from the ground. Now, I love wrecking it with the 870. Gangster or not, this thing is badass. I mean, it is a lot of fun when you're playing in a clustered close quarter map. If you're playing in Conquest Large with wide open fields, it's probably the last weapon that you want to have. But up close and personal with a large variety of targets, this thing is just a blast. And I was going on 10, 11 kill streaks with this thing, just wrecking it. And there's nothing more satisfying than taking down a whole squad one shot after the other without even needing to reload. Now, I was given the choice of using whatever choke I wanted on this weapon, so I went for the modified choke. I think full choke is a little bit overkill for me sometimes, and modified still allows me to get kills with hip fire. I mean, you can still do it with full choke as well. I just like having modified. I don't know, it's probably a placebo effect, but I feel like I do best with modified choke. And if you want to go full hip fire, then it might make a little more sense to actually run with a laser sight on this, though it does give you away when things get a bit more smoky, and we're seeing a lot more use of smoke grenades in Battlefield 4 since the FLIR and infrared night vision optics can't see through it anymore. They are far more useful. Also, the incendiary grenade can be used as sort of a makeshift smoke grenade. You'll see me use it at a few points in this video where I throw it onto a doorway where guys are. It gets them to back off, but also creates a small smoke cloud, giving me a few second window to actually charge that doorway, which is a lot of fun when you've got a brawler style class. Now, some good things to know about shotguns in Battlefield 4, how they work and how you should operate with them, especially if you're using a pump action shotgun and you're heavily reliant on that one shot kill. Relying on 2 shots to kill your opponent is much more risky. If you want a good accurate shot, you have to aim down sights. Unfortunately, the hipfire mechanic in Battlefield 4 gives you 2 unpredictable pellet spread. Basically, your pellet spread can be relatively uniform, but it can actually go off to the side of the circle where you're aiming instead of like in the center of the circle. So your aimer is basically a bit misleading when hip firing with shotguns. Now, this isn't all the time, and you can definitely get a lot of kills hip firing, but if you want the most consistency when shooting shotguns, aiming down sights makes a little bit more sense. The only time I really hip fire is when I'm in close quarters, and things always get a little bit weird, especially if your target's moving or you're moving. Your pellet spread might not go exactly where you expect it to go. So practice makes perfect, and when in doubt, aim down sights. And I suppose if you do prefer aiming down sights, you could put a red dot sight on your pump action shotgun, but it's never really felt right to me, nor have I felt like I've gotten an extreme advantage of it, because usually when I'm ADSing with the shotgun, it's mostly because I see somebody in my hipfire stance already, and I just need to quickly ADS to get a shot off. I'm not scanning for people, I'm not aiming down sights, coming around corners as frequently, and the iron sights has always seemed to be more than adequate. Plus, it just looks cooler. Now, without question, the offensive upgrade makes a lot of sense with this class. You certainly could run it defensively, but it's kind of nice to have that feeling of being ever so slightly faster. Even though the offensive speed upgrade is not massive, it's very, very minute. It just gives you that feeling of being a little bit faster, and since this is a brawler class, getting around the map quickly, getting into people's faces, it's an important attribute to have. Now, the art of playing with the shotgun certainly does require twitch reflexes and the ability to aim quickly, but what's more important really is your movement. You're getting around the map. Obviously, you can't just sort of peek corners like you normally would with an assault rifle. You have to do it quickly, but you have to get in close. So you have to know when to engage your enemy. You don't want to have a standoff at long range. You want to find the best possible route to get in close. And so you have to kind of enter a different mental mindset than you would with any other weapon. Combining it with the engineer class in this case and running with an RPG actually does give you a nice little weapon for dealing with targets at range or creating your own path through a map, especially on maps like Goldmud TDM, where so much of the map is destructible. You can really just blow a hole in walls and buildings and get into them from different angles and different routes. Now, if you can get this technique down or you're playing on the perfect map, the 870 can really be the ultimate weapon. I mean, I was topping out my KDR on many of these servers, just finishing first place, even though there's a lot of people running with their try-hard assault rifle kits. As long as you can get in close quarters, there's enough people to take advantage of, then the 870 is absolutely great. The inconsistencies of shotguns in Battlefield have always been kind of an annoying aspect, and when it comes down to one shot, especially when you're playing in rubble or with areas that have weird hitboxes that are hard to predict, it can be quite annoying if your one shot that you're trying to kill somebody with goes into an invisible wall right in front of you. Then you're kind of screwed in that firefight, and it can definitely backfire on you. So there's without question some downsides to playing with the shotgun that are mostly sort of game buggy issues as opposed to the mechanics of the shotgun itself. Now, the other main inconsistency that is very hard to anticipate is running into somebody with the defensive perk. The defensive perk is possibly the best counter to a pump action shotgun. Yeah, it is still possible to one-shot somebody with the defensive perk, but it greatly limits your ability to do so. Since shotguns don't have a headshot multiplier, it doesn't really make sense to aim for somebody's head. Your main goal with this weapon is to land as many pellets on the body as possible, so you want to aim for center mass. In fact, if somebody's behind cover and they've only exposed their head to you, that means it's going to be very hard to kill them because you're not going to be doing any extra damage to their head, and it's a much smaller target, so you're going to land less pellets. So it's actually hugely advantageous for somebody to only expose their head, and that's always been something that I thought was an interesting way to balance out pump action shotguns in this game. It's like you think a shot to the face with a shotgun would generally do massive damage, but in Battlefield, not so much. Now, Hardline made an interesting update to their UI, allowing you to see if somebody had the defensive perk when you basically looked at them or had them spotted. It would show a little shield next to their icon, and that would let you know if they were running with that. So you could anticipate whether or not you're going to need 2 shots with a pump action from a certain distance or not. I mean, ultimately, it wasn't that big of an improvement, but it was still a way to be able to tell what kind of damage you're going to be able to need to do to somebody, where in Battlefield 4, you just kind of got to shoot and see if they go down. If not, then give them an extra shot. But as any experienced shotgun user knows, that can really throw a wrench in your gears when you're trying to deal with multiple targets and switching quickly between them. Anyway, that wraps it up for this episode of Loadout. The 870 in this kit setup worked amazingly on the right maps. I highly recommend it. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave your comments down below for next week's episode, and I'll see you next time. This is LevelCap signing out.